Is sex the most pleasant way to induce labor naturally at home?
And if so, what kind of sex will increase your chances of going into labor?
All the answers are coming up right after this.
Hello Mummy, we are Natalie.
And Matthias, and we produce videos which help you and your baby naturally and science-based.
So if you like, you can now hit the subscribe button to get notified whenever we publish a new video.
So, can sex really help induce labor? Well, it is a question that Natalie is being asked all the time by our clients at the clinic.
Yes.
But the findings of scientific studies so far have been quite diverse. First of all, there are studies which have found that yes, indeed, sex at term can help induce labor. For example, it was found that women who had sex at term were significantly less likely to go beyond their due date and significantly more likely to go into labor earlier.
But other studies come to different conclusions. The most important study to date from 2019 has analyzed data from almost 1,500 pregnant women. And the conclusion of that study was that sex does not seem to help induce labor.
Right, so what's the conclusion then? Which study are we supposed to trust? Well, to be very honest with you, we both believe that all the studies about sex and if it can help you induce labor naturally are complete. Let us explain why. In very simple terms, the scientists of those studies either simply ask women, did you have sex during late pregnancy or what? Or they ask them how many times do they have sex during late pregnancy. Again, this is an extreme simplification of what those scientists did, but you get the point.
But here is the problem. Sex is so diverse and it is never really the same, right?
Right.
And so by focusing on those two questions only, we basically ignore all the aspects that define what kind of sex a pregnant woman is having.
Right.
But the reality is, we do need to ask for those aspects because they determine what your chances are of going into labor after sex. In fact, if we want to have a realistic chance of going into labor after sex, then you need to make sure that your sex contains the following aspects.
Right, so one major reason why sex is supposed to help you induce labor is because semen contains prostaglandins. These are chemicals which can help soften the cervix and trigger uterine contractions. And so it is hoped that having sex, or rather unprotected vaginal sex, helps a woman go into labor naturally thanks to the very high concentration of prostaglandins in semen. Now, man, how do I say this? If you were to focus your sexual activity on other openings of your body, the prostaglandins would have a very hard time finding their way to either the cervix or the uterus, okay? Therefore, it is not sufficient for scientists to ask, did you have sex or what? They would need to ask, did you have unprotected vaginal sex? Because this is the only way how prostaglandins could potentially reach both the cervix and the uterus. And so this is an important fact to remember, right? If you want to increase your chances of going into labor due to sex, then it needs to be unprotected vaginal sex.
Damn. Thanks for the clarification.
Don't say a word.
But it can increase your chances even more because the other reason why sex is supposed to help a woman go into labor is the female orgasm.
Right.
The female orgasm can help produce uterine contractions thanks to the release of a hormone called oxytocin. In fact, if your pregnancy is at an advanced stage, then it could be that you already experience a hardening of your uterus after having sex. However, these are usually only just so-called Braxton Hicks, which feel like real contractions, but in reality they are fake. They go away when you drink water or you rest or even when you simply change your position. But at the end of your pregnancy, if these contractions are strong enough and rhythmic, they could cause what you have been hoping for.
That's right. So if you want to increase your chances of going into labor after sex, then it is really important that you have an orgasm yourself. Or maybe some guys are watching this video. So in that case, let me rephrase this. It is really essential that your partner has an orgasm, okay? Really important, guys. Do not mess it up.
And finally, there is one more thing that you could include into your sexual intercourse in order to increase your chances of going into labor. Nipple stimulation.
Right.
Stimulating your breasts can help release oxytocin, so basically the same that happens during an orgasm. Now, the duration of nipple stimulation during sex is probably not long enough to really release enough oxytocin to get labor started. However, oxytocin is never a wrong idea if you want to trigger uterine contractions.
That's right. So you see, in theory, sex should be a great way to help induce labor naturally, but only if the sexual intercourse includes the things that we just mentioned. And we simply doubt that scientists have done a great job in investigating that subject properly, since they did not ask for those details. The other thing is that Natalie and I personally know quite many men and women who do swear by sex as a means of inducing labor, right?
So what we're trying to say is, why not giving it a try?
Right.
Vaginal sex during late pregnancy has not been linked to any adverse effects, neither for the baby nor for the woman. At worst, you and your partner are having a great time. So go ahead, try it, but do make sure that your body is ready to go into labor.
Oh yes, that's actually a very good final point. So what Natalie means here is that pregnant women often try tools to induce labor naturally at home without actually preparing the body for labor. But according to many scientific studies, the tools for natural labor induction, like for example nipple stimulation, are only likely to work if your body is prepared for labor. Therefore, labor preparation is really what pregnant women should focus on first if they want to go into labor naturally. So if you want to know more about which tools are suitable for labor preparation and which ones are suitable for natural labor induction, then check out the video that you can now see on your screen. In that video, we teach you a complete action plan for natural labor preparation and induction. So we basically walk you through suitable tools that you can try if you want to reliably and safely induce labor at home, and also how to apply them.
And finally, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos from us about pregnancy-related topics. On top of that, we are also here for you once your baby is born, because we regularly release videos about natural treatments to help your baby with typical baby-related issues.
Right. Thanks so much for watching this video, and if you have found it helpful, consider leaving us a like if you like.